right, we're just doing a little afternoon sample here just to show you what happens after the Fed raises. They had it figured in pretty much, so, but if it was going to be more than the 0.75 interest rate hike, then you'd probably see the market crash a little bit, but it's probably just going to stay level, but you're still seeing a little movement. I'm just hoping the upstart will get a surge, because I gobbled up quite a few of them while it was low. Because as you can see here, this is what I lost on it, 49 bucks. But it's come back a little bit, not much. But while it was low, I grabbed up a few cheap orders. So just for anybody that doesn't understand options, each one of these buys is like 100 shares. And a call is when you think it's going to go up. If you buy puts to protect it, it's kind of like buying an insurance plan for your call option. It doesn't always cover it completely, but it'll go up when the market goes down. So that's the point. Look, see the put's going up because Tesla's going down. If you could afford to buy the same level call and option put, then your loss would be equal. Usually your put would go up as much as the call goes down. Something to remember. We need that upstart to come back. We got till the end of the month. It could be huge with a capital H. We're going to let this ride for a little bit. The Dow's down 14, 12. It's hanging around even. So we're just going to let it ride for a minute. And there's Aisha Hasni. She's a looker.
At least 6 separate letters, including an invitation to come to this hearing. And it would appear, John, that also Democratic Chairman Jim Clyburn has not used his subpoena powers to bring Cuomo in, and we are actually here staking out the hearing.
Boy, they'll go after Trump, but they'll let people like Cuomo and Hillary. She's allowed to destroy emails and sledgehammer shit. That's crazy. Okay.
On top of the story from the very beginning, including when the Attorney General revealed Cuomo's health department undercounted.
If you want to learn how to lose money, like and subscribe. I'll show you.
Still blame Cuomo's emergency orders for causing the crisis. Now, Democrats on this committee will have to Cuomo's blatant
I don't give a
dodge today
damn.
as they seek to prevent a future disaster. Republicans say New York's current
do what I
governor
want.
must also face the consequences.
We know Governor Cuomo was the worst governor in America, but his sitting lieutenant governor, Kathy Hochul, she also needs to be held accountable for this. She promised nursing home family members that they would have a fulsome investigation. She has failed on that promise.
And just a reminder, John, that if the GOP takes back the House, and they will have unilateral subpoena power to bring Cuomo in. John?
Morris in the halls of Capitol Hill. I should thank you. Sandra?
All right, the Federal Reserve signing off on another big interest rate hike at half the top of the hour, and all in an effort to bring those prices down. 40-year high inflation. This comes as Ford joins FedEx and McDonald's in their warnings about the state of the U.S. economy. Ford now warning inflation is pushing supply costs $1 billion higher than expected. Let's bring in Natalie Brunell. She's the host of the Coin Stories podcast. Natalie, great to have you here. We see you on Outnumbered. We saw you on Outnumbered earlier. And we hear you talking about all things the economy at a point in time when there's a modern way to look at how we can invest in a pretty complicated market environment. But you have a unique way of looking at things. Your reaction to the news here and how people can sort of play this.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. What's sad is that we can't save in this country anymore. Savings have been destroyed by inflation, and it's not new. It's just been accelerated as the result of the pandemic and more money printed.
Anybody that knows about my little divider door, Marcy got locked back there because I was.
Free money to capital markets, and all
I guess she went in there when I was showering.
So
That's
really
hilarious.
No surprise that we have these sort of populist uprisings and people
She wasn't
feeling
even saying
frustrated.
anything.
They want
She
some of
just
the
went
power
back there and went to
They're looking
sleep.
for a political savior. But the truth is, the problem started with the Federal Reserve
She's like,
keeping interest rates artificially
quit
low
making fun
and
of
not
me.
allowing free market capitalism
Well,
to
government
take
spending hasn't helped.
Saying that, Marcy?
Absolutely. But the thing is you have a White House that likes to come out and tout when the wages go up. Because wages have been going up under the current administration. You can look at a chart. However, as the Wall Street Journal put out today, inflation's more like this. So what good are those rising wages if they're getting gobbled up by inflation?
Come on, upstart, give me a break.
The inflationary environment. This is some of the sound that we're hearing from some of those big-name CEOs on where they
The market's up 167, folks. We're getting a surge. The rate hike reaction is not scared.
I think we are headed into probably
They're not doing what they need to do, though. They recommended to just go ahead and take the Band-Aid off and raise it a point, but they didn't.
Around the world, the weekly numbers are not looking so good. So we just assume.
If you buy call options, you better buy them
So
puts.
people have already taken them into their 401ks. They already see.
I watch this guy named Shambles the Clown on
But there's one thing about investing.
on
this is
a
buy
Webull,
and sell it
and
for
he's like
everything. And there's always an
always telling you what to do
way
because he
to
does Tesla,
address your
Nvidia,
financial
AMD.
situation. You're big into Bitcoin.
Who else
this is
does
really
he
what
do?
your podcast is about, your expertise.
But
So
he'll tell you what he thinks. He's like, buy them poots. He spells it P-O-O-T-S. It's hilarious.
Parallel system to escape some of the ravages that this monetary policy has created.
He's usually right, though. I watched him for a
Why
while.
young people are so passionate about crypto. It is a revolution because we want to burn the current system down. It is one in which we don't have a seat at the table. Houses are too expensive.
So usually
stocks are too
it's already
expensive,
happened
the
by the time he
valuations
tells
don't
you,
match the
though.
earnings of the companies. We've got
Yeah, Tesla's going up a little.
Right now are zombies. They rely on easy
See?
money and cheap financing, and that's not a
I'm
way
already
to create
losing my ass on my
prosperity for
put.
everyone. I think
Didn't have to
our current
buy it.
financial system is so divorced
I'm glad I didn't
from
keep the
original
other
values
ones, though.
from the founding
I had
fathers of this
3 of
country,
them.
individualism, achievement, freedom. And so
I
we
kept
wanna bring
accidentally
about
buying
freedom
puts
of
when
money,
I
one
needed
that's
a call.
divorced from the state, one that you control, and you control your own wealth. You
Well,
control
I
your own
think
destiny
there's
financially, and
somebody's
that's something
messing
that
with my
we're passionate about
phone from
because
another
it is the
world.
first form of money that's truly
That's
decoupled from the state. It is decentralized, just like the internet, and it's scarce.
And
It's
I would
finite.
say
Look
if
at
you
that.
haven't read up on
It's
it,
moving
look
right
into
up.
it, you should. You can't ignore it. It's a
I
growing
scooped that
industry
up
that
when
is
it was
served.
down to
Real
like
quick, I want you to talk
305.
about that. because there's some serious reaction going on. And look at that intraday chart of the Dow. It's sort of kind of hung out in positive territory until the Fed decision came out, and it immediately went lower by a couple hundred points when the Fed announced what it was expected to announce, a 3/4 basis point hike. It stayed down, and then now look at this, it's turned around. And a lot of that is because Federal Reserve Chair Jay Powell is speaking right now. And I believe that he's talking a little bit more optimistically about the future of the economy and that he believes he can get inflation under control.
Well, right, he has to, because we're teetering on the brink of economic collapse. We see a global deleveraging that's bringing down assets, especially risk-on assets, and right now he has to, thread the needle a little bit, and they're always trying to make it sound better than it is. The truth is we're barreling further and further into a recession. So many lagging indicators, including unemployment and housing sales that are slowing down more and more. I mean, they created this problem, and now they're trying to fix it, but the problem is they're eventually going to have to step in, and they always print. We have to because of the debt, and so that's why a lot of people are looking for an exit out of the system.
Really interesting. So he's saying that we're going to need to see a softening in the labor market in order to get inflation under control. Robert Wolf and Stephen Moore were here earlier, and they both seem to agree on that point, where it's pretty tough to bring inflation down if you have full employment. So the idea here is that if average interest rates go up, it's going to make the cost of everything go up. That's going to dampen demand. But it also could be a jobs killer if he chooses to be really aggressive at tackling inflation. Real quick final thought, Natalie.
Yeah, well, you can't bring down the interest rate or the inflation, rather, without having a recession. We saw recessions in the 1970s, and in 1980, people don't realize that before Volcker raised, he also lowered the interest rates because of a recession.
Oh, but then the pain came, and it was big time. But he ripped the Band-Aid off. That's what Larry Kudlow and Art Laffer and others are calling for, but we did not get that today. Natalie, great to meet you, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
Back. All right, done.
Border Patrol's arrested more than 2 million migrants this fiscal year.
My foot's lost more than my college game because it's been teetering too
border
much.
is secure. Got that story.
And my upstart's taking a poo. Come on. Marsh, you went out?
With Verizon, you can now get a private 5G network, so you can do more than connect your business. You can make it even smarter. Now ports can know where every piece of cargo is and where it's going. Robots can predict breakdowns and order their own replacement parts. And retailers can get ahead of the fashion trend of the day with a new line tomorrow.
With Roslyn Capital, a trusted leader in helping people acquire precious metals. Gold bullion, Lady Liberty gold and silver proofs, and our premium coins can help you.
The good thing is I have enough time
Call
for it
Roslyn Capital at
800-630-8900
to receive your free Roslyn Guide to Gold, Gold and Precious Metals IRA, and silver brochures. With Roslyn, there are no hassles, no gimmicks, and our shipping is fast and reliable. Help protect yourself against inflation. Make gold your new standard. Call Roslyn Capital today at 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. That's 800-630-8900.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need? Now you can sell your
puts
policy,
might go
even
sky
a term
high.
policy for an immediate cash payment.
We thought we had planned carefully for our retirement.
But we quickly realized we needed a way to supplement our
income.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may qualify to sell your policy. Don't cancel or let your policy lapse without finding out what it's worth. Visit CoventryDirect.com to find out if your policy qualifies. Or call 1-800-515-4100. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
I sure would like to see that upstart go crazy though. Because if it just goes to like 28, it'll make hundreds of dollars. Probably 1,000.
Your shipping manager left to find themselves, leaving you
16
lost.
buys.
You need to hire.
That's like owning
Indeed, you do.
shared
Indeed Instant Match instantly delivers quality candidates matching your job description.
Get a nice
Visit Indeed.com/hire.
Didn't go up high enough.
We'd like to invite you to come back. Back to playful. Back to adventurous.
When you're dealing with these low-priced stocks, it takes too much to make anything.
Back to the little things that can have a big impact. It's time.
I mean, 100 at the price it is now is only $240.
In Jamaica.
2,400. That's too bad. That's quite a bit.
Ever wonder what everyone's doing on their phones?
Wouldn't make
They're
that much
investing
if
from
it
there.
goes up to
Think Ms.
30
Allen
bucks.
is texting for backup? No, she's
$5.
totally in charge of her portfolio and Daniel G. She's built
Goes
a
up
greener
30
future,
to
and
50
he's
up like
running a
$4.
pretend restaurant. And Phil has questions, but none of them are about his portfolio.
Digital
Here,
tools
we'll
so
watch
impressive,
Tess in a
it
little
never
bit.
stops working for you with Merrill, a Bank of America company. What would you like the power
It's
to
up
do?
a percentage point.
A one-on-one with the
From
45th
the
president of the United
start
States,
of the
Donald
day.
Trump, from Mar-a-Lago, an interview you don't want to miss tonight on Hannity.
I found a cheaper price for my meds with Single Care.
Whether you have insurance or you pay cash for your prescriptions, you can still save with Single Care.
Insured, uninsured, cash pay or copay. It doesn't matter.
Single Care is accepted at major pharmacies nationwide. Just look up your prescription on the Single Care app and show the coupon to your pharmacist.
Always remember to check the Single Care price before you drop your prescriptions off at the counter. You never know how much you might be able to save.
Go to singlecare.com or download the app today.
Introducing Amber Wave, a revolutionary new way to take control of hot flashes and night sweats. Amber Wave cools you on demand and provides immediate relief.
Without a doubt, immediate. I'm amazed at how it cools my body down.
Stop hot flashes without drugs or hormones and with just the touch of a button.
I get to be in charge of my body now.
It just works. Try the Amber Wave for 5 days with zero money down at amberwave.com.
If you're new to this channel, we do all kinds of weird stuff on
Turn
here.
your water on and nothing comes out. Then you look outside.
Lots of
you see water
animals.
flooding your yard.
We even
Your
tell you how to
water
get rid of skin
is likely
disorders.
not covered by your insurance or the city.
My best
The
friend
repair
owns tanning
costs thousands.
salons in New
I'm
Mexico.
Tom Rusin, CEO
He
of
used to.
We do a repair every 49 seconds.
He is an actor and a
With a plan from HomeServe, we'll handle the
and a-
repair, and there's no worrying about a big bill.
Call
rapping,
1-866-570-7652
model,
or visit
slash everything.
homeserve.com.
But he's been keeping up on how to
not to conclude it's a
treat your
political
skin.
hit job. This to me
And
looks
he
like
uses
gross
tanning
overreach,
beds.
which I think is going to end up backfiring on him because I think it
So
will
it
make people
keeps your-
sympathetic for Trump. That this is another example.
Your
of
body
people
from getting too
piling
much of
on
the
because of
oils
Trump
that you don't
this,
want.
this
Too
strong
much
desire.
collagen buildup, which is what I have, the hydradenitis
That was Bill
suppurativa.
Barr on this program a short time
There's
ago,
celebrities
citing
with
New York's
this, and
Attorney General
they're
Tisha James
they're
for
not
filing a
recommending
lawsuit
this
Tuesday.
light treatment
Former
like they
President
should.
Donald
They're
Trump
telling you
and
to
his
get
family
surgery,
fraud.
and you don't
David
want to
Lee
do
Miller is
that.
live here in New York City for
It's
us.
not
Any more
necessary.
reaction from the Trump family, David?
Indeed, there has been.
Take your weed grow light.
If the Attorney General
Oh yeah,
does get
upstart
away,
baby.
Donald Trump's real estate empire in New York
Moving
State
on
will
up.
effectively no longer
We're
remain
getting
in
a surge.
business. Now, James, the Democrat up for re-election, announced today that her office is filing a civil suit against the former president and his sons, Don Jr., daughter Eric, and daughter Ivanka. The
Oop,
lawsuit
Tess is
alleges
going
that
up.
Mr. Trump and
Come on,
others
baby.
fraudulently inflated
Even
by
income.
billions of dollars the value of many properties, including Mar-a-Lago. According to James, the scheme made it
I
possible
used to go
for
to
Trump
the
and his companies to obtain
casinos
royalties,
and
loans, and
to
provide
those
other financial benefits. As a remedy,
machines
James wants
with
to
my mom all
bar
the
Trump and
time.
his family from serving as officers or
And I feel
directors
like
of any
this is a
company
good
licensed in the state. He's
trade-off,
also calling for a 5-year ban preventing Mr. Trump and his organization
because there's a
from
little
dealing in
bit
New
more
York's
skill to
real
this.
estate, as well as barring Trump
It's still
and his organization
gambling,
from
but
applying for loans from any
you
New York
can
financial institution.
steer it with watching the news if they don't lie.
Former U.S. Attorney Bill Barr, speaking just a short time ago here on Fox, who served under Trump, said the lawsuit is politically motivated and without justification.
There are times where people may, be conducting legitimate investigations into some of Trump's actions, but this isn't one of them. And it is simply true that there are a lot of long knives out for him, and people tend to go after Trump, target him unfairly, apply different standards of justice.
We've got a lot of stuff on this channel. We do alien and UFO stuff. We're trying to do the full disclosure so that people know this stuff is real.
New York is a disaster, in great measure because of the Attorney
There's
General.
millions of people all over the world that's been either abducted or
David Lee Miller,
mentally getting,
Thank you, John.
Sandra, according to a new Fox News
I
power
don't know what the
rankings,
word
one
is,
of the most competitive
put
House
into
races
another
is played out in
realm.
Kansas's 3rd congressional district. And while
It's kind of the similar thing that happens to people when they do the psychedelics like ayahuasca and DMT.
Let's bring in Amanda Atkins.
You start
She is the
seeing weird
Republican
stuff.
candidate in that district. Amanda, it's good to spend some time with you. You are
Joe Rogan
in a
talks
rematch
about
from
it.
2020
So does
with
Lex
Sharice
Friedman.
Davis, the RCP average
It's got you up 1 point. It's an old poll, though. Let's put it up on the screen. It's an RMG poll from July. 46%
I've got 3 channels that we're trying to monetize.
In a way that now favors Republicans.
So like and subscribe. Alien Disclosure Project is already on the way. So is LA. Or truly invigorating.
It was because I knew that Joe Biden
Lee Infamous.
would take the country in the wrong direction.
Productions Lab.
I would not have imagined that
And Midwest Connections almost there. So get it in where you fit in.
It takes me back to Ronald Reagan, and that is, are you better off today? And what I hear from people in the district is that they are not better off today. And it all really does start with inflation. In the 3rd Congressional District right now, the inflation impact to an average household is now roughly $8,600. $8,600. And it's not lost on them that a major driver of that, they are Sharice Davids' votes. She voted for the American Rescue Plan. She was warned by left-wing economists even that that vote, it would go down in history as one of the worst policy decisions of an administration, and it has directly contributed to the suffering of people in our district. So
not lying.
For change, and I'm that candidate.
So let me ask you this question, because it's the same question that I asked Tim Scott a little while ago. When you look at inflation, when you look at the economy, you look at jobs, gas prices have stopped falling, and for all intents and purposes, could go back up again. Republicans should be winning all day on that message, and yet Democrats are making great inroads in the national generic poll by focusing on abortion and the Dobbs decision. How do you counter that message?
Well, the Dobbs decision essentially returned abortion policy decision-making back to the states. I did release a message out to the public soon after that I think that it is a state issue, that I do not support a federal action on the issue, that I do not support a federal ban on the issue. By comparison, my opponent, Sharice Davids, is very extreme on the issue. She supports partial birth abortion. She supports taxpayer funding being used for abortion. But again,
I believe you should be able to have an abortion, just not after the baby's considered alive. And we don't know exactly what date that is.
They're worried about the economy. They're worried about the impact of what we do today to future generations. And they really are worried about safety and security as well. I just made a tour down at the southern border here about 2 weeks ago.
I mean, you never know if that human being's going to be the next
there's no question about that.
major player or whatever. I don't know why people always say, oh, it could be the next president. Who the hell would want that?
Chances to get away from the Democratic messaging by unveiling the bill that he did last week?
Again, most people in my district are not paying attention to what Lindsey Graham is doing. They are paying attention to daily life. It really does come back to grocery prices. I mean, the price of eggs in my district, it's double. And again, the most important thing is $8,600 paying for the same goods and services in comparison to last year. That is a really big problem for most families in America. They just can't afford the policies of Joe Biden and Sharice Davids.
There's no question that people are hurting across this country. Amanda Atkins, it's good to catch up with you. We will keep watching the race and see where things go. And of course, we're inviting on Sharice Davids as well to see if she'll come and talk about the issues in the district.
Thanks for having me on.
See you again soon. Thanks. And Sandra, that brings us to a close this fine Wednesday.
Very interesting conversation there. And real quick look back at the Dow, continued reaction to the interest rate hike at the top of the hour.
Back up again.
Back up again. Look at that wild swing. All right, as we enter
the Dow needs lithium because it's definitely
entering the final hour of trading. All right, great to be with you, John. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Sandra Smith.
And I'm John Roberts. The story starts right now. See you tomorrow.
Come on. Upstart.
Thank you very much, John and Sandra. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum in New
Put's
York.
coming back.
Take a listen to the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, over the past few years. Watch this.
Because no one is above the law, including this illegitimate president.
Illegitimate. I was in 18. Dang.
Will you sue him for us? Oh, if we definitely sue, we're going to be a real pain in the...
She was saying that, and
President Trump
damn.
cannot avoid justice in the great state of New York. Since I've been in office these past 2 years, yes.
Letitia James said she wanted to do that in 2018 on Instagram or something. That's crazy.
So now,
She's
after 3 years
suing him
of investigating real estate
from the
properties on their books, a high-profile
New York AG
today that
office.
she is suing all of the working Trump family members.
This is stupid.
Andy McCarthy is here on developments this hour. But
I mean, yeah, he probably deserves it, but they don't do it to other people in their own section.
Drafting up to 300,000 reservists, reportedly recruiting at Russia's prisons as well, to battle back Ukraine, while warning America and its allies that he is not bluffing.
He's recruiting prisoners.
Nuclear and war capabilities. A short while ago,
That's
President Biden
hilarious.
was at the UN calling for a unified pushback to Russian aggression.
It's getting serious.
China for transparency over their growing nuclear program, North Korea, and Iran as well.
We don't say nothing because it's like, oh, out of sight, out of mind.
State Department spokesperson Ned Price joins me now, live from the UN. Ned, thank you very much for being here. It's
But
been
you know
having
what?
us today here in
It's
New York.
affecting us, and we just don't see it.
I want to play this
We feel it.
soundbite from Vladimir Putin.
We just don't know why.
Watch this.
This is not a bluff, and those who try to blackmail
That's
us with
Putin
nuclear
talking.
weapons should know that the prevailing winds can also blow in their direction.
So there's talk of him also annexing more property. How much of an escalation does the administration see all of this as?
Well, I think, Martha, what this is more than anything, it's a sign of weakness. It's a sign of failure. With every passing day, we see additional signs of Russian failure and weakness in Ukraine. In the past 24 hours alone, we've seen 3 of them. You spoke of this reckless, this irresponsible nuclear saber rattling, the likes of which we've heard from President Putin over the course of several months. Over the past 24 hours, we've seen a series of sham referenda. That is to say, these sham orchestrated votes taking place over the coming days, purportedly in parts of Ukraine, with the threat of future annexation by Russia of the this sovereign territory of Ukraine into Russia. And then, of course, what you also mentioned, the mobilization
Got an hour left
of
in the market day.
300,000 Russians
I
to
feel
fight
like
and to potentially die,
Upstart could make a recovery tomorrow too.
that President Putin announced
After a week or so left to go, you're about, you better get out because it ain't going to come back.
Russia's actions in Ukraine. Actually, what's happening?
I've had to do it on the last day before, but we're not getting those kind of market moves.
Hundreds, if not more, of arrests across the country.
That was when it was going from 20 to 50 in a day.
Reckless war, and
25
even though
to
the Russian
50.
people don't have an opportunity to genuinely express their views at the
Now it
ballot
just
box,
stays at
they're voting with their
25.
feet. In fact, airfare, flight tickets out of Russia have sold out over the past 24 hours.
Upstart was up to like 100 not long ago. It'll come back.
You know, all of that is definitely worth noting. You know, ever since we sent the HIMARS, which have allowed
Imagine
much deeper
having that
penetration
many shares
over
and
the
it went
Russian
up to
border,
that.
to take out ammo depots, to take out
You'd be thousands.
missile launchers and all of that, which we weren't doing in
That'd
the
probably
beginning.
be 20
We
grand.
kept saying we were only going to provide defensive weaponry. We
It's
weren't
gonna
going to
happen
provide
one of these
anything that
days.
crossed over the border. But that mission has clearly crept now, and it appears to be working. So my question is, how much further are we willing to go, given his escalation now?
Well, 2 points. The mission is working, and we see that in every day as Ukrainians take territory that the Russians had temporarily wrested from them. But the other important point is the mission has not changed. Our mission all along has been to support the ability of the Ukrainian people to defend their sovereign territory. Everything that we have provided to our Ukrainian partners, everything that our partners around the world have provided to the Ukrainians have been in service of that singular goal, helping the Ukrainians defend themselves. The Ukrainians are using these weapons, these systems, these assets on their sovereign territory.
Right, but my question was that...
And ultimately to take back territory
from
the Russians.
We weren't going to allow, basically, offensive weapons. There was this whole back and forth. You know, we're not providing them offensive weapons. Clearly now we are. I mean, the HIMARS are offensive weapons. They're being used against Russia. Now, my question is,
They are now saying, you know, get out of our backyard. And now they're threatening the potential of even using their most dramatic nuclear weapons. So what is your response to that?
Well, Martha, I have to take issue with that. These are not offensive weapons. By definition, these are defensive weapons because they are being used by our Ukrainian partners on sovereign Ukrainian soil.
Inside Russian territory.
They're being used. No. Inside Ukraine. We have been very clear with the world and with our Ukrainian partners.
But you
in
agree,
particular.
we're taking out targets inside of Russia now, which was something we were not doing initially. So, and that's really been a game changer.
Martha, but Martha, this is a truly important point. We are not doing that. Our Ukrainian partners are using the systems we have provided them on their sovereign territory against the Russians.
The Russians are saying Ukraine is on their territory.
And this is taking place
inside. We're not
no.
taking them out in, but what we're hitting is inside Russia, and that is something that we were not doing initially. You're saying we're not hitting any targets in Russia with those weapons that we sent them?
Martha, we are providing our Ukrainian partners with the weapons they need to use inside Ukraine. We have been crystal clear about that. The Russians are inside Ukraine. They're on sovereign Ukrainian
but the
territory.
targets are in Russia, correct, Ned?
No, Martha, they are on
None of
Ukrainian territory.
It's not. I don't believe that's true. That none of the targets that have been hit are inside of Russia. Is that what you're saying?
We are providing our Ukrainian partners to use on their territory.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, it's been reported widely that many of these targets are taken out in Russia. Let me ask you a question about Taiwan. The president said on Sunday that, yes, he would respond. Let's play this soundbite. If China were to attack Taiwan, he would respond. Watch this.
Would U.S. forces defend the island?
Yes, if in fact there was an unprecedented attack.
So unlike Ukraine, to be clear, sir, U.S. forces, U.S. men and women, would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion?
Yes.
Okay, so the response was that he was responding to a hypothetical question. So my question for you is, you do agree, though, in that hypothetical scenario, that we would put U.S. boots on the ground if China were to attack Taiwan, correct?
So, Martha, you played his answer to the hypothetical question. What you didn't play was what the president said to 60 Minutes over the weekend, what he has said on every instance in which he's been asked this question before, namely that our policy has not changed. The status quo,
but
the
he's 4 times now said if they invade, we will go there with U.S. troops and support them. He's said it 4 times. So you're telling me that that's not a change?
And each of those 4 times, to answer your question, the president has also added in his answer that our policy has not changed.
But those two things don't line up.
We see utility in the continued status quo across the Taiwan Strait. We don't want to see either side take unilateral action that would disrupt the status quo that has served our interests and, frankly, has served the interests of the international community over the course of the past 40 years.
But you stand by his answer to the hypothetical,
and
correct?
maintaining that status quo.
You stand by his answer to the hypothetical.
And the president was very clear in his answer that our policy has not changed. He's the president of the United States. If the president of the United States wishes to change U.S. policy, he will leave no doubt about doing that.
Right. Well, he's said it 4 times, so a lot of people feel like that leaves no doubt at this point.
He's leaving doubt. We don't know for sure what the hell they want to do.
A couple of questions. One is on Iran. With regard to what's happening in Iran right now, after the killing of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, there's a lot of outrage in the streets. This is some video I want to play of women burning their headscarves. This act is something that could get them killed, arrested at the very least, and killed. They're incredibly brave. And one U.S. activist, Masih Alinejad, who we've spoken to a lot, she is saying to President Biden, where are you at Joe Biden? You gave a visa to Masih Amini's killer and the murder of millions of Iranians, but totally silent about the brutality of Raisi's regime against ongoing protests in Iran. And she goes on that. So what do you say to that? Okay.
The simple fact, Martha, is that Mahsa Amini should be alive today. The people of Iran, certainly including the women and girls of Iran, have every right, as do women and girls and individuals around the world, to express themselves as they see fit, and in this case, to wear what they see fit. The fact that we are seeing thousands, if not more, people across Iran take to the streets is a reflection of the genuine aspirations of the Iranian people for greater levels of freedom, greater levels of democracy, and for the human rights that they've been deprived for far too long.
But the question is, why is Raisi allowed into the United States? And further, that she brings up, why are you all at the negotiating table with this leadership that is carrying out these heinous killings?
So 2 points on that, Martha. As the host country of the UN, we are generally obligated to allow in foreign leaders who are attending the UN. There are certain restrictions that are on the Iranian delegation. They're not allowed to go certain places. They're allowed to attend the UN, and we're generally obligated to do that as the host of the UN. When it comes to the nuclear negotiations, every challenge we face with Iran, whether it's its ballistic missile program, its support for terrorism and proxies, its malign influence in the region, and yes, its human rights abuses inside of its own country, every single one of those challenges would become more intractable, more difficult to deal with if Iran had the perceived impunity that came with a nuclear weapon. President Biden is committed to a simple fact. That is that Iran will never acquire a nuclear weapon.
So you will continue to negotiate with them, with this government. I'm assuming that's a correct answer, right? You plan to continue to negotiate with them.
So we haven't been negotiating directly with our with the Iranians. We have been talking to our European partners. What we have been trying to do is to see to it that once again, Iran is permanently and verifiably prohibited, barred from obtaining a nuclear weapon. That will always be in our interest, and we'll continue to see if we can achieve a mutual return to the Iran deal as long as doing so is in our national security interests.
Okay. One last question on immigration. There was a piece yesterday, I believe, in Politico saying that the White House is frustrated by our coverage of what's happening at the border, in particular with our reporter Bill Malugin, who has spent months down there, saying that it's alarmist. Do you agree that our coverage is alarmist at the border?
Martha, I am not a media critic. I will leave that to others. What I can tell you is that...
No, they're saying the White House is saying that.
One, I'm at the State Department, and more importantly, I'm not a media critic, so I will leave it to others to render judgment on media coverage. What I can tell you is what we're doing with countries throughout the region, with our partners here in the U.S. government, to try to address the root causes of migration, the root factors that are pulling people away from their homes in places in Central America, in South America, in the broader region, that are, in some cases, bringing them to our border. The State Department, we are working very hard every day to try to address those pull factors, those root causes, so we can address
with all due
this
respect,
challenge.
Would you say that it's fair to say that those efforts are failing, since 2 million people have crossed the border, a record number? 900,000 of them have gotten away? The numbers do matter, Ned, right?
Of course, numbers matter, but it also matters that this is a challenge that has built up over the course of decades now.
But it's gotten considerably worse during
solve it.
your administration, the administration you work for. Considerably worse. Not better. Root causes have not been addressed.
And of course, we have never been under any illusions, nor should anyone, that we can fully address the root causes overnight or over the course of a week or a month. But this is something that we are working on. We're working on it as diligently as we can. We brought together the countries of the hemisphere in June in Los Angeles to work on this very challenge. There was a declaration that resulted from that. That is the first time that countries of the Western Hemisphere have come together in this way to agree on managing this migration challenge for our hemisphere. We know
Boy, they just talk in circles.
In the numbers, Ned. I mean,
Just keep talking in circles, bud.
All working on it, and obviously that's your job, and everyone wants you to do that. But it must be disappointing when you see 2 million people cross the border when you're trying to address these root causes. That something maybe has to give.
These are daunting challenges, and again, these are challenges that have built up in Central America, in other parts of the hemisphere, over the course of decades. And so we are making investments, we're making short-term investments, we're making long-term investments to try to address these root drivers, so that not only do we address what's going on at our border, but we're getting at that core problem that has led to the challenge that you've highlighted.
We've seen so much tragedy and death at that border, and it is definitely worth covering. It's an important story, and I'm being told you have to go. So Ned, I do appreciate your time. I know you're on a tight schedule, and I appreciate you giving us some time. I hope you come back. It's good to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Certainly will. Thanks, Martha. I appreciate it.
All right. So breaking right now, a new legal battle takes aim at former President Trump, Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric. Andy McCarthy weighs in for the first time about what we heard from Attorney General Letitia James this morning.
Claiming you have money that you do not have does not amount to the art of the deal. It's the art of the steal.
All right, folks, we'll come back to you.